Hey, Kiran, and welcome everybody to another episode of Big Life Mindset. Man, I wanted to capture some of the fails that I've had this year, but also some of the successes, share those with you, in the hope that you're going to pick up something from this, this is going to benefit you in some way, and I'm pretty sure it will. Partly because you hear all these success stories and they're cool to hear, but actually there's a lot of little failures that go into that, a lot of little learning curves, as we like to say, learning opportunities. And I don't want to forget about those. Like, those aren't to be discouraged. They're actually part of that progress pathway. So, I'll do a little bit of a recap on this year, but then I'm going to talk quickly about what I'm going to be doing next year. And the full intention of that is not just to kind of put it out there to the universe and help make this thing a reality, but hopefully it's going to inspire you to, just look a little bit further ahead. You don't need to look too far, but just look a little bit further ahead and see, okay, what is a good year going to look like for you? Or what is a good month going to look like for you? Or what is a good week or day going to look like for you? Okay. Cool. So here we go. For me, in no particular order, chronologically, that is, I had I bombed out on a couple of things, and I say bombed out, but that's just exaggerating. It didn't work out the way that I had anticipated, put it that way. Probably the number one on that list was the COVID stop. So I started a business called COVID Stop, and the intent of that was to import and distribute RAT tests, the rapid antigen tests that everybody had to do. In New Zealand, that was basically everything, right? But I recognised that we'd had an oversupply of RAT tests in New Zealand for ages. The problem was the pinch points, and the government didn't actually know how to get them from A to B. And I saw that as an opportunity to start this business. And I did, and I went through all these hoops, all these hurdles trying to get these things imported. And when I finally did, about a week after I'd actually set it up, I built my own website as well. I mean, I was deep into this thing. About a week before it really started to gain traction, then the government announced that they were going to be distributing the RAT tests more freely, which sucked, don't get me wrong, but it did force me to rethink, okay, what is it that I'm actually trying to do here? So that was a bit of a bummer. Also, I've touched on this, I don't want to talk about it anymore, but failing that purple belt exam for BJJ, that stung. That stung quite a bit. But in terms of setbacks from my year, that's pretty much it, if I'm honest. And even then, I'm that kind of glass half full person that I could see so many different silver linings to both of those experiences. The middle ground stuff was, I'd helped out with a rugby league club over here called Hunters. And I really wish I'd been able to contribute more time to these guys, because I felt like the value that I could have brought to them and what they were needing, they matched up really well. But just through the nature of being, we'll call it busy or productive, having other commitments and other priorities, just meant I couldn't really lean in as much as I wanted to. So that was a bit of a shame. I also, in the middle ground area, I finished up my board of trustees tenure. So I was the treasurer for our local primary school, Bellevue Primary School. And I really joined the board of trustees because I wanted to get involved, because I'm not a sideline person. You know what I mean? Like, it's really easy to offer amazing advice from the sideline. It's really easy to have lots of great ideas and put those into the mix, but not actually get your hands dirty and trying to make those a reality. It's really easy to do those from the sideline. And I'm not that kind of person. If I want to see change, I'll get my hands dirty. I'll stick my nose probably where it's not welcome at times too. But the board of trustees thing was I'd reached the end of my time there, and that was the sad part, was because I really enjoyed contributing to the board and the school, and that being part of the community. But for me, I joined the board for two reasons. One was that I wanted to see greater engagement with the community. So they'd done an okay job, but I wanted to see it leveled up considerably. And the other thing was really about greater transparency in the decision-making processes that they had. Now, those were basically goal A and goal B, and they were interchangeable, but it allowed me to focus on, this is the reason why I'm here. This is how I'm going to add value. This is my focal area. So if you're looking at joining a board of trustees or coming on as a business mentor or something, like, I would encourage you to have an awareness of, what is the thing that I'm looking at addressing here? What is the thing that I want to see come out of this? So that was the board of trustees. Another one in the kind of middle ground with a nice view to the future is the swimming experience that I've been talking through. I met the head coach. All roads lead to this one guy called Dougal, and I caught up with him, and glad that I did. Told me where I was, which was like way back from where I need to be, but that's all good, right? Gives you something to start off from. And that was cool, and starting to get into the swimming and becoming a bit more of a regular swimmer, which is awesome. I really enjoyed it, out of my comfort zone, obviously. The sucks thing was that I got injured when I did, and I'm still injured. I've actually just come back from the physio, and not being able to swim, or not being able to swim without pain, is just kind of a food for thought for me. I'm like, right, I recognize that I'm nowhere near where I need to be, and it's going to be even harder for me to get where I want to go, because I've got these injuries that I need to deal with first. But I've got a plan now. So it's kind of still in that middle ground, a little bit towards that sucks end. It didn't work out as well as I'd hoped. But like I said, man, it's given me a way forward, and glass half full and all that. What else? I did I'm just going to skip the middle stuff now and the rest of the middle stuff and go to the cool things that had happened. So the cool things that had happened for me this year, some of them were personal. I'd reconnected with a mate of mine from, back in our school days. Reese Ferris is an absolutely top bloke. He and I had kept in loose contact throughout the years, but it was just really cool being able to I attended his wedding, him and Jen, and they had this awesome wedding, man. They had it on a family property, and it was cool. How you have a little bit of a flashback to the past, and you see faces from yesteryear and whatnot. But it was just really cool seeing those two together, because they got it, man. They got it. They got that thing. It's beautiful. So that was cool. Something else I really enjoyed was, I talked about it on the previous podcast, but overcoming those significant levels of self-doubt and imposter syndrome and all the other negative self-talk that I had in order to publish that first episode, my first podcast episode. So that was in March. That was in March of this year. I feel like that was 2 or 3 years ago. And part of that sense of feeling like it was so long ago was the journey that I had to go through to standing here right now. So I'm in my cabin. Those of you on Spotify or the YouTube channel are going to be able to see this. But man, I was recording this thing, in wardrobes. I was recording it in the lounge under a blanket to try and, soften the sound. I did a lot of recordings sitting out in the car park waiting for our eldest daughter to finish her dance classes late at night. I did a lot to get to this stage and to get that accolade at the end from Spotify, top 10% most shared podcasts in the world. Pat on the back for Eddie. That's cool. But that, the significant achievement was getting out of my own way and kicking that self-talk, that negative self-talk to the curb. So, that was a really cool experience. I absolutely believe everybody can learn something from that experience, because if I speak to 10 people, I guarantee I'll get 8 on it if I get honest answers. At least 8 of them will say that they've dealt with or are currently going through imposter syndrome. And so just being able to say, fuck that, I'm going to do this anyway and do it, man, everybody can learn something from that. I am still learning something from that. And I was the guy that was in the center of it all. So I'm still learning about, the role of self-doubt, imposter syndrome, negative self-talk, that kind of thing, and then what it takes to push through that. So yeah, that was awesome. My mum celebrated her 70th birthday in August, and we had this massive family gathering around home, and that was just super cool, super cool. People in my mum's family don't live to be 70 years old. I think she's the only one. If she's not, then she's like one of two, that kind of thing. Like longevity is not a very good, not a very defined characteristic in my mum's side of the family. But that was more than just like that point in time, right? There was like a lot that went into that, and all those moments kind of shared during the day and the following days. You know, you're going to remember that stuff. I'll remember that stuff way more than I'm likely to remember who scored the winning goal in a Rugby World Cup or a Football World Cup final. Like, yay, that's cool. But honestly, that kind of stuff, that family-based milestone and the moments that surround it, man, that's just way more important to me. What else? I was obviously brought on as a leadership coach for GovTech Accelerator. So that's just like this big program in town where a whole bunch of government departments and NGOs, small businesses, entrepreneurs that come together and provided leadership coaching to across that whole cohort. Really enjoyed that. Felt like it was a little bit of a missed opportunity as well, though, because the system that the lead organization had designed didn't allow for easier access for us to influence the progress of a lot of the teams. And, if I'm quite honest, when I saw some of the output that got spat out the other end, I thought that should have been way better. That had way more potential in that than what was ultimately landed on. And I know that I could have added value into helping that potential be unlocked. So it is what it is. I did a little bit of travel around the country, the Urangi events, which I've already talked about, facilitating startup weekends around the country and pairing that up with hitchhiking adventures. So, super proud of that and the people that we helped. Random stuff like taking the family to the Wellington protests. So, when the country was a little bit of a turmoil around what to do with COVID and the protests kicked off, but prior to that, I took the family down, took the kids down, and it was nothing like what we were seeing on the news. Like on the news, we were being told that it's just like basically these right-wing terrorists have taken over Parliament, which is just a lot of bullshit. And if you still subscribe to that based on what happened at the end, then you're easily swayed. Okay, I should know. I was there, and I don't take information from others as gospel. Like I like to interrogate this stuff. Anywho, so that was cool. Pity that the protest ended the way that it did. By that stage, I think it had been hijacked by too many self-interests, and whatever happened. So look, at a high-level glance, that was basically my year. A couple of failures in there, or a couple of learning opportunities, some middle ground stuff that I think, oh man, this had the potential to be much greater than it was. And then there's just some, outright positives. The Cook Islands, taking our family to the Cook Islands, man, lock that in as a massive, massive positive. Next year, what's going to happen next year? So next year, I am looking at really taking this podcast to the next level, taking this podcast and my coaching to the next level, actually. So the podcast, and I'm going to repeat it because the more I repeat this thing, the more it's going to lock into people's brains. Like this podcast that you're listening to is in the top 10% most shared podcasts in the world. Now, that's straight out of Spotify's lips. So I'm going to make this in the top 1%. About a month or two before I received that report from Spotify, I'd said to myself, I'm going to move the needle. I'm going to make a difference in people's lives. I'm going to positively influence people's lives because I really do, but I want to take this global. And that was an acknowledgement that, yeah, Eddie, you're on the right track with this thing. So for me in the podcast, I'm an experience gatherer. So I started writing down like a hit list of what are the things that I'm going to be doing this year, and things that I'm mildly aware of, or I've got like a tiny bit of interest in. Those are the things I'm going to start grabbing. So, catching up with an anaesthetist and understanding what happens when you get put to sleep? Like, what is the reaction that happens in your body, and where the hell do you go? I've been put to sleep a couple of times, and they were quite different experiences. So I really want to unlock more of that and share that. Salt pods, tantric massages, colonic irrigations. There's going to be a lot more. I shouldn't say a lot more. There's definitely going to be stuff that is more sexual based, based around sexuality, not in terms of gender identification, but more in terms of, here's my body, here's my brain, here are my eyes. What are the things that stimulate me sexually? What are the things that stimulate other people sexually? Why? How? Let's talk about it. I'm reasonably open with that kind of thing, but obviously there's some things I had to get the seal of approval from Debbie before I can talk about them. But just exploring that. I mean, we're adults. I'm assuming most people who are listening to this are adults. In fact, I know you are. I want to know, what does it feel like? What does it feel like to have anal beads? I don't know. I couldn't tell you, but I'm going to find out. So, really just branching out and looking forward to gathering a whole bunch more experiences that I wouldn't ordinarily partake in, or I have heard about, but have thought, oh, that's kind of somebody else somewhere else does that thing. But what I want to do is I want to bring those stories, I want to bring those experiences, and you're welcome to live vicariously through me, because I'm going to do this shit anyway, whether people are listening to it or not. That's kind of part of who I am. But I want to experience more of this stuff that's out there that interests people, and understand why it interests them, and get a gauge on whether that interests me or not as well. Oh, good. We're going to keep that one short and sharp, folks. I do appreciate you coming along on this journey. Please remember to click follow or subscribe, and more importantly, if you can share this podcast with people, that helps so much. I mean, as I mentioned, it's already given me a massive amount of motivation to keep doing and turn this thing up a few notches. So I do appreciate it. I really do. If I could meet every single person that shared this podcast and give them a high five, handshake, or a hug, I would. So there you go. There's like a virtual one right there. All right. Check the show notes. You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the hosting platforms, the works. I'm also going to be dialing up the coaching reels that I put out, and that is really targeted towards building your confidence at work. So if that's something that you think you could benefit from, then jump on my social media, click follow, and then you'll get the latest that gets pumped out. All right. Thanks again, everybody. Have an amazing New Year's. Look after yourselves. Relax. You deserve to relax. You deserve all the enjoyment that comes with decompressing, with having less stress, with enjoying life more. So go forth and do that. All right. Ka kite and bye for now. Ka kite means catch up. We'll see you again. All right. Peace out.